What's going on, everyone? Between the Dots, episode 17. This episode, we give you our All-Star Weekend takes. We also give you a trade deadline preview, what we want to see from the Sens and the Leafs. We're also going to give you our play of the week, and we're going to set you up for Saturday night with a little Saturday night special. We got all that and more coming up on Between the Dots. Let's go.
All right, episode 17, coming off the All-Star break. Good to have some games going again, but what were your takes on the All-Star game?
Oh, All-Star game. So, skills competition that was Friday night was just, not very well done. That's nicely put. It was cringy, it was poorly designed, it didn't showcase enough skill of the players, all in all, was just hard to watch. But I watched it, and then the game on Saturday too, with the different divisions, right? That wasn't too bad. I enjoyed that more than I did the skills stuff on Friday night.
Yeah, I don't know what they can do to fix this. It's been an issue for quite some time now, I think. Even the players, I was listening to Matthew Tkachuk get interviewed before the actual All-Star game, and they're like, "So, are you ready to go? You excited for this?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, we warmed up about 3 hours ago, and we've been sitting in the room ever since. But yeah, it'll be good to get out there."
Another thing that was just brutal was that they made they wouldn't finish events in one shot. They would do the fastest skater, round one, and then round two would be in another 40 minutes when people have forgotten all about round one. It was just very poorly designed. And in terms of ways to fix it, I'm thinking they need to get back to doing events that really showcase the NHL players' talents. Doing that one where they shoot at the surfboards, the one they did on Friday night where they're shooting and they're trying to get their teammate dunked into the water, the pool of water. That wasn't hard to do at all. No offense, but I could do that. And these are... we're watching this a show being put on, and also that was pre-recorded, so that means that everybody in the All-Star game actually is just watching the Jumbotron.
Yeah, I wish they could figure out a way to make the All-Star game mean something. I know they did this in baseball. I'm not sure if they still do, but have just East versus West, and the winning team gets to host the Stanley Cup final. Gets home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup final or something. Maybe not to that extent, but they got to do something just to make it mean something.
Maybe add some bigger prize money or individual prize money for the players, or they get to choose if they want to donate their money to a charity of choice or something like that. But just some more incentives for players to try harder and more. You remember when they used to do the relay races where they would go in and out of the cones and they'd race up the ice? I would have loved to see McDavid in that and how well he could have done. Doing actual challenges that are gonna be showcasing their skills and that is gonna be interesting to watch. Not me watching guys shoot pucks at surfboards or goalies fire pucks down the entire length of the ice. They get 10, 20 tries at it, and they're taking slap shots because they're bored. They're bored, and they're the ones doing it. So how do you think we as fans feel? It's just you could try. I heard Elliot Friedman, he suggested that you leave it up to the players and you let them decide the events. You let them decide how they want to run it, and you don't leave it up to screenwriters essentially anymore who are going to make it into a cringy competition kind of thing.
Yeah, I wonder if they could do more with the fans too. Ask the fans what they want to see. A few years ago when John Scott was there, I don't think they liked that because they wanted their top tier talented players there. But I don't know. I thought it was funny to have John Scott there, and that was, in my eyes, one of the last All-Star games that I actually paid attention to because I knew that he was going, and I just thought it was funny to see him there, and it was worth tuning into. So
Yeah.
they definitely have to change something.
Yeah, the players like that event too with John Scott there. Like they carried him out on their shoulders, for goodness sakes. Like they they got to get back to, they got to change it up.
One thing we did learn with this All-Star game though is they announced next year the All-Star game is going to be in Toronto. So I thought it's pretty exciting for the city of Toronto. I don't know. They're definitely not going to be shooting pucks at surfboards if it's minus 15 outside in Toronto, but I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm not excited to see what those tickets will go for because we all know what Leaf tickets go for. So I definitely won't be attending, but I'm sure it'll be exciting.
Yeah, so that's exciting though that it's in Toronto, and means probably lots of Leafs will be at the All-Star game too. They usually pick like 3 from the host team, so that'll be good for that. And all in all, like hopefully they can put on a better show than what was put on in Florida. That's for sure.
Yeah, I saw a few guys mention on Twitter. It was like, oh, what a great way to have the Auston Matthews farewell tour next year. And I read that and I was just, can't be thinking about that already. They're going to re-sign him. They're going to.
Yeah. No, I think with Matthews, they're going to re-sign him. Like, they're not going to let him walk. They're going to pay him. He's going to get paid. I don't think he's going to take a pay cut. I don't know why you would want to take a pay cut either, because you only have one career. So guys should be in it to make as much money as they can, if you ask me, and they have every right to. So we'll see if he ends up walking, but I really don't think Toronto's going to let him go.
Yeah, that's down the road, but definitely something to start thinking about.
Yeah. You think he's going to walk, or?
No, he's re-signing, 100%.
Yeah, I just don't see how you can let a talent like that slip away from your organization. At this point, like there's no problems in there. Like, who knows, something could happen from now until when he needs to re-sign that contract. But as it is right now, like there's nothing in that would make it seem like he just needs to leave. Like, I don't know why he would, or like they got a good relationship with him in the organization, so I think they're gonna probably keep that going.
My only worry though is the weather in downtown Toronto in February, and you think like, oh, I could be making more or just as much for sure, not paying taxes, living somewhere like in Dallas or Florida, or I just think that actually goes into the players think about that a lot more than they used to. Like Toronto used to be, well, it still is like the center of the hockey world, but they're like, okay, yeah, I'll play for the Leafs. Like for Matthews, I'm hoping he doesn't do this, but maybe he could think like, yeah, I did it for a few years. It was good, but I'm ready to go somewhere warm and not have to deal with the weather in Toronto and the people. Probably as soon as he goes outside, I'm sure he gets people trying to get pictures with him every single day. And I know at these other markets, it might not be an issue like that, but some players think that's cool too. So we'll have to see what he decides to do in the end.
You might have, I think you mentioned the biggest reason there was taxes. Like, I think that maybe they're just, players sometimes are in it for the money, and look at what Gaudreau did last year with Calgary. Like, he knows he can make more money in Columbus, so he goes there because they got lower taxes. Like, you're not taxed as much as you are in a Canadian city, and that's a lot of times is the reason why players will have Canadian teams on their no trade list as well too, just because of those tax incentives that they get when they're somewhere down in the States. Yeah,
we'll have to see for sure. Some other news coming out of the All-Star break. Did you happen to see Bo Horvat's first goal as a New York Islander?
I did. Yep, it was
the crowd chanting his name too.
Yeah, yep. It was funny seeing him at the All-Star game too, wearing the Islanders colors for the first time. Like, he hadn't even played a game with them yet, but he's out there rocking the Islanders colors and talking with Pettersson still too. So it was funny to see.
And the new contract extension for him as well. It's crazy to think we'll give you $56 million or whatever it was for, you haven't played for us yet, don't worry about it, but here's $56 million in 8 years. I just think that's insane.
Yeah, that's a big contract. And then Lou Lamoriello, when he's the GM of the Islanders, he goes, "Oh, that's too much money, and it's for too long."
What do you think about that?
I think he was trying to make a joke out of it. I don't think he was meaning it seriously. I think the media always tends to overanalyze comments like that, and that's just him being laid back. Like, oh, if you ask me, like $8.5 million is a lot of money. Like, he's kind of just like acting like that. And obviously, Horvat's deserving, but that's obviously too. It kind of shows like where the market's heading for forwards. Like, if you are a point per game player, you are going to make $9 million. And that's wild. It never used to be like that, ever. So the cap's going up, and now if you are a point per game player, you're making $9 million. And it's like you look at a guy like Larkin has a contract coming up for Detroit as well. I'm thinking he's going to be like similar range as like Horvat, like 8.5, 9, because that's honestly just like where the market's at right now for free agents, for re-signing forwards.
Yeah, it's crazy how much they get paid, but then you look at other sports and it's nowhere compared to the other sports. So
yeah, like baseball players.
Yeah, baseball's insane. The guy you can pitch one game a week, and get paid millions.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, mind you, they do play like 162 games a year for if you're like a batter, but that's why it's all revenue, right? They can pay their players more because they sell more tickets and they make more money, so it's all relative. But NHL is moving in that direction as well. Salary cap's going up, and player contracts are getting bigger.
Yeah, I'm excited for the salary cap to go up because it is frustrating as a fan still seeing, like, obviously the Horvat trade, but other than that, there hasn't been much. I mean,
not yet. Yep, not yet.
And it would be nice for it to happen like around now or a little bit earlier in the season to get these players traded sooner. They have more time with their new team, more time to adjust.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with the way it is, they can't. The teams are all they're at the cap, so they can't really do that. Yeah. But hopefully that'll change.
It's smart too. Like the Islanders, they make that trade early for Bo Horvat, and now they can kind of assess their team in the next couple weeks with Bo Horvat and be like, hey, are we on the verge of like a really legitimate chance to do well in the playoffs? Like, we reassess for these couple weeks with Horvat, and then we can say, okay, like, do we still need to trade for a defenseman with Horvat? Do we still need to trade for a forward? So there is some like other benefits as well to making those trades early.
Yeah, I love seeing a team like that. Like right now, I'm looking at the standings. The Islanders have 59 points, tied with the Penguins for the second wild card spot. A lot of times it's these teams that they're already set, they're in, they go make a big splash, but the Islanders, like they're not even in a playoff spot technically. So it was good to see that, and hopefully, like if I'm an Islanders fan, we mentioned this last week, but I am so excited to add a guy like Horvat. So
I love that. Forward. So now we want to talk about get into some more trade deadline stuff, and we're going to go through some of the players on the TSN trade bait list. And first up on that list is San Jose Sharks forward Timo Meier. So he's having a pretty good year. What do you think? There's been some rumors with Meier going to the Leafs. Like, what do you think of that?
I would lose my mind if the Leafs got Meier. Yeah. Give him Nyes, give him a first-round pick. Timo Meier would be awesome.
Okay, but
we got to talk. Hold on, we got to talk. He's got to get re-signed if you're giving that up, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but thinking about the Horvat trade and stuff, if the Leafs could re-sign him, and this would be possible with the players that would have to go out the door, along with obviously San Jose would want Nyes and probably a first-round pick. You'd also have to move out Kerfoot as well as Engvall. So if you move out Engvall and Kerfoot, that would get I think a little over $6 million off the cap to be able to fit Timo Meier in on the roster. And if you were to re-sign him, I mean, the Leafs have been a very good team for a few years now, but they just can't get over the hump because in the playoffs, they can't get that scoring when they need it. So Timo Meier would be awesome. Yeah,
he's definitely a goal scorer, and those are hard to come by. So it's he'll get paid this offseason regardless of where he ends up. What about number 2 on the list? Also kind of rumored to the Leafs. He's been rumored a bunch to the Sens before as well, but Arizona defenseman Jacob Chychrun.
Sure, let's trade for him too.
Trade, yeah. We're trading for him all. We're all in this year. That's funny.
I think that with this one you would have to move out a defenseman, obviously. And I do think a guy like Rasmus Sandin potentially going the other way could be a fit for Arizona, considering he's still a young defenseman. And
Yeah.
I honestly think he's got more to prove. But where the Leafs are right now with their decor and kind of where he is in that lineup, I don't think he's really showing his full potential. And maybe on a team like Arizona, he could. So potentially the Arizona staff is thinking that as well. So maybe a trade for Chychrun would be good for the Leafs, because then you get if I'm trading for Chychrun, he's going on the number one power play. And he's your just number one defenseman right away. So I would have no problem moving out a guy like Rasmus Sandin, and obviously whatever else it takes to get the deal done. But Chychrun in Toronto would be awesome.
And he's under contract after this year as well, at a cap hit of $4.6 million. So extremely team friendly there. And that's why I think like I wouldn't even be opposed to Ottawa trying to put in an offer. I know our left side's really crowded right now with Sanderson, Shabbat already there. But even if he's throw him on the other pair, that third pairing, and like give him power play minutes as well, penalty kill minutes. Like he'll hit his 20 whatever minutes of ice time that he needs. Like you don't need to go crazy. Like you can always have like 3 good pairs of defense and then play certain guys more on special teams. Like just because he lines up on that third pair doesn't mean he's your 5th best defenseman per se. So I wouldn't even be opposed to Ottawa making a deal for him. Is it fair to say that any of these guys 1 to 5 on this list, so Timo Meier, Jacob Chychrun, Patrick Kane, Ryan O'Reilly, and Vladimir Tarasenko, any of those 5 guys you would make a trade for if you were the Leafs?
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly, is the Ottawa Senators coaching starting to get into your mind there? You're going to trade for Chychrun and put him on your third pair?
I'm not the Leafs coaching and thinking about throwing Morgan Riley on forward.
But yeah, any one of those 5, obviously they're the top 5 for a reason. And I just honestly daily I think about like Patrick Kane or Ryan O'Reilly. Any of those guys coming to Toronto would be awesome. Timo Meier would definitely be my number one pick, and Patrick Kane as well, because he's Patty Kane, and him playing with Matthews would be unbelievable.
Yeah, a couple of Americans. Yeah, like all these guys, I think on the list, the top 5 there, you're giving up a first-round pick for. I don't see anything less than that. And then if we move from picks on the trade bait list here, that TSN trade bait list, number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got Vladislav Gavrikov, Jonathan Taves. We're skipping over the Rangers' first-round pick. I don't even know why they have that as trade bait on there. Ivan Barbashev and Luke Schenn. So Ottawa's kind of in a weird position this year. Not like Toronto, where Toronto's a clear buyer this year. Ottawa's in a weird one where it's like, do we sell? Do we buy? I don't know. So I think there's going to be a couple sends that get moved at the deadline just because they're expiring contracts, and I think Ottawa's going to try to move on from them. Like guys like Cam Talbot, I think Ottawa's going to try and move. They're going to try to move a guy like Austin Watson for depth. So they're going to be on there as well. But the reason why I was saying that they're in different positions is because one of the guys that Ottawa might buy is this Gavrikov, or even Matt Dumba, who's on there later on this list as well. Ottawa's in the market for a defenseman. They've been in that market for a while. I don't know how I feel about now making that move. Like, if you were going to make that move, the time was last summer. I think the window has been missed, and at this point, like, you got to focus on selling the assets. You can't be doing a bit of this, a bit of that, and then end up smack dab in the middle, not making playoffs and not getting a high pick. Like, sell the guys that we need to sell that are not going to sign next year, our UFAs, and then we'll be able to go sign a Gavrikov or maybe a Dumba this offseason. Like, don't waste a first-round pick trying to trade for these guys. Like, keep those picks. Be patient at this point. Like, you've been patient for how long? Like, you might as well keep going until we know for sure. Like, now we're going all in, and it's not this year. So I would say, as much as I would like them to get a defenseman right now and how much that could help them, I would say it'd probably be smarter for them to wait until the offseason to do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you felt you wanted to see the Sens do, because right now they're 9 points back of Washington, 9 points back of Washington, 8 of Pittsburgh, and they got 3 games in hand on Washington. So if the Sens were to win, 4 of their next 5 and come within 2 or 4 points of a playoff spot, you're still saying sell?
Like, sell, but not everything. Like, be very careful what you sell here. Like, you're selling away, like, Cam Talbot, maybe Austin Watson, and, like, maybe Nick Holden as well. So, like, you're not getting much for those guys either. Like, the most you're going to get is, like, a second-round pick for Talbot. The other guys, you're getting, like, 4th, 5th-round picks. They're not very, like, impact players. So, like, sell those guys, because your team will be okay if you sell those guys. We're still going to be all right. And then maybe, like you said, if we're in that position where we're literally 2 points out and we're that close, then yeah, maybe at that point, then we say, okay, let's go out and get Shane Gostisbehere or somebody. But you got to be careful what you give up, because these guys are UFAs at the end of the year, and unless you know for a fact you're signing them, then you got to be careful with when it comes to that, especially like when you're in Ottawa's position as well, where they can sell. When you're in Ottawa's position where they don't need to rush into a deal or anything. Like, they can be patient, and we'll see what happens.
I'm always nervous to see what the Bruins do, because they always seem to do something big. And same with the Lightning. What are the Lightning going to do? Like, going through this list too, I'm looking like, who are the Lightning going to add to this? Who are the Bruins going to add? And looking at a guy, he was down there a bit, a guy like Sam Lafferty from the Blackhawks. Honestly, he does not seem like a big name at all. If that guy gets traded to the Lightning, he is going to have an unbelievable playoff. I just know it. It just, the way it works with those teams and those guys, that I'm very curious to see who they're going to trade for.
Yep. One guy that I would really love on this team, if Ottawa actually went out and got as well, again, you have to be careful what you give up because he's a UFA, but is Ivan Barbashev from St. Louis. Isn't going to cost as much as a Tarasenko to go out and get, but he could be as effective. And obviously, if you're a team that's close to the cap too, he's only getting paid $2.25 million right now. So like, that's a friendly contract. He's going to get paid this offseason as well. But that's somebody that I would like, similar to how Colorado added like Lehkonen last year, would be a fantastic third line player for any team, and you could get him probably at a discounted price compared to like a Tarasenko or someone.
There's lots to see coming up, and I'm excited for that trade deadline day. I love when those days where they get TSN or Sportsnet, whoever you're watching, they get the full day of the trades and get up, grab a coffee, and all you do is sit there and watch your favorite team make a trade. So those are good days.
Yeah, I love parking my butt on the couch for trade deadline day. I don't know what it is, but
yeah. The tough part though is a lot of the time you're ready for the deadline and then everything happens like the night before. But you're so excited that you just still get up that day and you're sitting there waiting for stuff to happen and nothing really does because it happened the night before.
Take the day off work.
For sure, it's a personal day. All right, now we're gonna jump into our play of the week. Typically, our play of the week is a nice goal, whether it's from a Leaf or a Senator or just around the NHL. But this play of the week is courtesy of Jacob Trouba with a big hit on Nazem Kadri. This would be a play of the week that Don Cherry, I'm sure, would be a fan of. So let's take a look at this play of the week, folks.
Kadri able to get to him. That's Sheldon. Cuts to the middle.
Kadri comes in, tries to cut to the middle, and it's funny how hockey's changed, and I think eventually hitting will get out of the game, but that is a hit where you are taught when you're young, just lay your shoulder in him, like shoulder right into his chest, perfectly clean hit. Kadri cutting to the middle with his head down, like that was an unbelievably good hit from Jacob Trouba.
And then you hear the fans, Trouba. Yeah, that's a great hit, and he answered the bell for it too, and pounded Dubé afterwards too. Like, we'll see it again here if you're watching. Kadri comes in, tries to cut to the middle, and head down, and Trouba just pounds him, and then Dubé, comes in to fight. Oh, Kadri's helmet pops off too on the hit as well. So it's just a huge hit. Good old-fashioned hockey. You love to see it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one for play of the week.
What do you think about NHL players like having to fight in that situation? Like, you just threw a perfectly good big body check, like a clean hit. Like, should you have to answer the bell in that case? Just because you did a big hit? Like,
I don't know. This is a tough answer for me because I don't know if you should, but personally, as a fan, I love it. I love if a good player comes in and gets hit, another guy on your team comes out and he's like, you're not taking down our best player and you're going to have to answer for it. No, I don't think he should have to, but I love seeing when that happens. And good on Dubé to jump in there because it's not like Trouba's a small guy. And I love it. What do you think about that?
I'm also on the side. I like it, but just like Kadri afterwards, after he got up from that hit, he was honestly about to go in himself, I think, and fight Trouba. Like, if you kind of look at the replay, you see Kadri and he takes like a glance at Trouba as if like, yo, did you just hit me like that? Like, let's go. And then Dubé just comes flying in and like takes the fight over. But like Kadri after the game was like, he post game was like, is a clean hit, and I got right back up on my feet and went to the bench. Like, nothing more to it. Like, that should be part of hockey. But yeah, like you said, good on Dubé, like, as a teammate for standing up, because Trouba the whole game was running around with it, like his head cut off, just throwing huge body checks. Like, that wasn't the only big hit he had that game. He actually had another big hit in that game where he had to fight after that hit as well. So just like crazy that a guy lays two huge body checks and has to have 10 minutes in penalties because he had to fight twice, like just from two big body checks. So it's if that's the direction it's heading though, like I'm not opposed against fighting in hockey either though. So like I don't have anything wrong with Dubé coming in there and stepping up for him. And Trouba, if you want to play like a physical game, sometimes you got to be able to back it up too. So I don't have a problem with it.
And the other take you could look at too is if you're on the Calgary bench and you're Milan Lucic, you can skate by and let Panarin know it's coming to him. You just hit our star player, it's coming to you. So I think either way you look at it is good. And on that play as well, Dubé gets the instigator, which is deserved. I mean, a clean body check. He comes in, clearly drops the gloves, and Trouba honestly doesn't really have much of a choice. Then has to fight. So I think in terms of how you handle it, either way is good. I hope to see more big hits because I loved those Rock'em Sock'em videos from back in the day.
Classic. Yeah, that's good. And the refs got it right on that play too, so that's good to see as well. So that's it for our play of the week. All right, so now it's time for our Saturday night special. This is where we set you up for Saturday night with a little bit of a parlay. And so it's Super Bowl weekend this weekend. This parlay doesn't involve Super Bowl, but it can set you off on the right foot for a nice day of gambling on Sunday as well. So our Saturday night parlay this week, Kijo and I both made this one together. The last Saturday night special that we did also hit, so keep that in mind. We're on the board, all right? And this time around, we got another 4-leg parlay for you, which is the same as what we hit last time as well. So, Kijo, why don't you tell them what it is?
So the first game in our 4-leg parlay is the New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes under. Then we're going to go to the Winnipeg Jets on the money line over the Chicago Blackhawks. We've got the under with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Los Angeles Kings. And then the final game is the Leafs over the Blue Jackets.
Beautiful. There it is. So a couple things to break down there, reasons why we chose those. We chose the two unders. Both those teams are on a back-to-back. So in two games, the first game was the Rangers versus Hurricanes under. The under will probably be set at like 5.5 for that game, I would imagine. But if you can get it at under 6, take that, because then there's a chance for a push. But basically, teams on a back-to-back typically hit the under more often. So that's why we elected to go with that. And then same goes for the other under that we chose as well, the Pittsburgh versus LA game. Pittsburgh is actually playing the night before. So we took the under in both those games, hoping that it hits, because we do have some pretty solid defensive playoff hockey teams that you think are going to try to bring their A game. And typically playoff hockey is lower scoring. So if we see a hint of that on Saturday night, expect the under. So in those two games, we have the under. And then the other two picks were a couple favorites. So we have the Leafs over the Blue Jackets. Despite no Auston Matthews, we are aware of this, all right? But it's the Leafs at home. They are on a back-to-back as well. They played Columbus the night before, but they still should be able to get that game done. All right, they still should be able to get the 2 points that night. So we went with the Leafs. And then the final one is the Winnipeg Jets over the Chicago Blackhawks. So Chicago's going to be looking to unload some pieces before the trade deadline. They're kind of in a lull state right now. So we're thinking Winnipeg gets it done on Saturday night at home against the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good little parlay there. And like Falk said, get your money in the bank for the Super Bowl. So get you started on the right foot for the weekend.
That's right. And hop on now while we're on a hot streak.
So we're going to move into week out now. Obviously, with the Leafs and the Sens not playing last week, we didn't do a weekend. But for the week out, we have the Leafs at Columbus, Friday, February 10th. Columbus in Toronto the next night, Saturday, February 11th. And then the Leafs are home to Chicago, February 15th.
That's a good-looking week of games there. So they got, those are two very easy opponents, right? You got Columbus and you got Chicago. That's a perfect time for the Leafs when they're going through some injuries, right? You play a couple weak opponents, maybe help focus on your game and kind of get back to the things you're doing well as a team and, figure out a way to win without your star player in there.
That's why these games scare me, though. The Leafs do this a lot, is you play a weaker team and for whatever reason they play down to them, but I am confident in these three games. If they were to lose one of these, I think it would be the Friday night in Columbus, off the long break, got a road game, but if they lose that one, they're bouncing back the next night at home for sure. So I'm excited for these games. Hopefully they get these 6 points in the bank and get themselves a little bit more of a separation from Tampa Bay to secure that home ice advantage in the first round. So not the best opponents this coming week, but it's going to be a big week regardless.
Yeah, you got to beat the teams that you're above in the standings. Like you have to beat them, and especially the ones that are really low in the standings. Like these ones, these are must-win games for teams that are trying to fight for positions and where you like home ice as well in the playoffs. So it's funny looking forward for the Leafs as well, even beyond that. This next coming week, they play the Habs next, and they play the Blackhawks again after that. So they got like a half a month of a weak opponent essentially. So really good timing for them with their star player being out, and maybe this will give them some time where they can focus on the depth and the rest of the guys in the lineup and how are they playing. And then hopefully when Matthews is back, it's just insert him into the lineup and hope that you've improved as a team in the meantime, and then he just comes back in and makes a difference kind of thing.
Yeah, insert Matthews and Timo Meier and away we go.
Yeah. And then this coming week for the Ottawa Senators, they play their first game of the week on Saturday, February 11th. That is an afternoon game at 12:30 p.m. against the Edmonton Oilers. Ottawa's home for that game. Their next game comes Monday, February 13th against the Calgary Flames. The Sens are home for that one as well. And their final game of the week comes Tuesday, February 14th against the New York Islanders. A Valentine's Day matchup between those two teams. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, they got definitely some stronger opponents than the Leafs do this coming week, so it'll be a big test, and I'm really curious to see what happens, because if they get on a roll like we were talking about earlier with the trades, if you can beat like Calgary or the Islanders or both of them, I wonder what they're going to do What do you need to see from the Sens this week?
I just need to see consistency at this point. Like, I don't want to see us play Calgary on Monday night at home and lose 5-1. That's what I don't want to see. So at this point, I just need to see consistency, and I would like to see 2 out of the 3 games we win. That's what I've been saying all year. Like, is if Ottawa can just win 2 out of 3 games, they'll be in a great position come the end of the year. Obviously, that's not what's happened. But if they can grab 2 out of these 3 against 3 pretty good teams that are all kind of like fringe playoff teams, I guess you could say, like that are all trying to make it right now, that would be great if they could win 2 out of those 3. But what happens in the next coming weeks going to kind of determine, too, the direction for the Senators at trade deadline as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a big week ahead for sure. Lots of hockey Saturday as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 17 of Between the Dots podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Kijo, what are you thinking this week from the Leafs?
I'm scared because of the opponents, even though they're weaker, but clean sweep. Let's go 3 for 3.
Yeah, I mean, Leafs do tend to lose those games against the weaker teams, it seems, this year, but they should win 3 out of 3. I'm hoping the Sens can do the same, to be honest. Like, these are good opponents, and if we want to start to, if we are serious about maybe pushing for playoffs, these are teams that you got to beat in the process. So, hoping the best for them, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much for listening. As always, remember to like our videos, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts as well. We really appreciate all your support throughout all of this. And yeah, we love doing this for you. And until next time, go Sens, go.
Go Leafs, go, baby.